If you have a plan to take an exam for a certification or for a license in the next few weeks, you may find this video very, very helpful. I'm going to share with you from my own experience some of the approach that helped me a lot. I'm not talking about exams where you just pass or fail. I'm talking about exams where you have to score 70% or more. I have taken some exams. I can give you some of the exams I have taken, such as A++ certification, project management professional, real estate exams in 4 states, securities exams such as SIE, which is Securities Industry Essentials, and recently Series 65. In each of these cases, I passed with the first attempt. To just give you a scenario, if you take an exam like this one, the one I mentioned, you may have 65 or 67% chance to pass with the first attempt. Otherwise, over 30% of people may have to take it again or even twice before they pass. You may be asking, what helped you to succeed? I'm going to share with you some of the approach, and of course I have to disclaim that some of these may not help you. It helped me, but it may not help you, and therefore you have to make your own judgment which ones you want to use, which ones you want to dump. The first thing I want to share with you is that whenever I take an exam, I make sure that I have enough time and the appropriate resources. I don't mind paying more to get the full resources that I need to pass with the first attempt. When it comes to time, of course, there have been times where I had months, but I also took exams within weeks and even within days. I remember when I first took the A++ certification, I had a couple of days. I was hired to provide technical training for students who didn't have any IT background. My job was to help them pass the A++ certification and get entry-level IT jobs. To do that, I had weeks, and therefore I have to help them pass the exam. And one of the requirements they had for me was, okay, we like you, you are a great trainer, but since you're gonna help these students to pass the A++ certification, one of the requirements is that you have to pass the A++ certification. And I had days. Initially, I thought, you know what, I have IT background. I have master's in computer science, and I have been a software engineer. It won't be that hard, but I immediately realized that having IT background and knowledge and experience doesn't mean you could be able to pass with one attempt and score 70% or more. That's when I sat down and strategized. One of the strategies I had was, okay, let me get the manual, read it quickly, and take as many questions as possible. And I went out, quickly read the manual, tackled some questions, and I could be able to pass. But in most cases, I had weeks to pass these exams. I'm gonna divide the entire process into 3. The first one is the preparation time, where I read the most important resources. It could be the manual for that exam or the online course. During this time, I may highlight if I have a hard copy, but my job is just making sure that I have the full picture of what that exam gonna look like. The second phase, I call it solidification, which is not only I read, but I also take some short notes, because when the exam approaches, I don't have time to read the entire book, and therefore I want to make sure that I have short notes, which I'm gonna read as the date approaches. During this time, of course, I take some exams. In most cases, I buy exams, and I want to simulate the exam itself, and I want to make sure that I score above 70 before I go and take the exam. The last is the execution part. During this time, it could be a couple of days or it could be 1 week, doesn't matter. Depending on the schedule, what I'm gonna do is I have the short notes. I'm not gonna read the entire book, but I quickly review the notes, and then I take as many questions as possible. During this time, I could be able to see my weaknesses, and therefore I may dive deep and read in those areas where I may not have strength. But at the end of the day, I take as many questions as possible that by the time I'm ready to take the exam, I may actually score around 80% or so, which means my confidence increases, knowing that I could be able to pass. Because if the passing score is 70%, and if I score 80%, I'm sure I could be able to score the 70% required score. Here is the most important thing for me. The last days are very, very important. These are the last 2 days, or maybe even the last 1 day. What I make sure is that one day before the exam, it could be just relax, take some questions, and also just sleep well, get up the next day, be ready. I go with my short notes, and of course, as I drive, if I get some YouTube reviews and so on, I listen while I'm driving to the exam center just to review last minute. Once I get to the exam center, I take out my notes. In most cases, I arrive there maybe 1 hour or 30 minutes before the exam, and therefore I have enough time to quickly review the notes. By the way, these notes, they are formulas, acronyms, and some numbers. In every exam that I have taken, I need to memorize certain things, and I want to make sure that I have the short notes for those things that I need to memorize. Once I review the notes, I leave them in the car, go to the exam center, and then once I am checked in, as soon as I sit down, I take the pen or a pencil and quickly write those things I memorized before I forget them. I remember, I think this is Mike Tyson who said that everybody has plan until they're punched in the face. Before the first question punches me in the face, what I do, I write down the question, the most important things I need to remember. These are formulas, acronyms, and some numbers. Here is what I do as I take the exam. The first thing I want to make sure is that I have enough time. To do that, I don't want to overspend a lot of time on each question. I read a question. If I'm not sure about the question, if I need more time, I just select one of the answers and mark it and move on, because I don't want to spend a lot of time and still I may not get that question right. If I have a very, very long question, I first read the answers. At least that gives me the focus where to emphasize as I read the questions. Another thing I do is, if there is a math question and if I'm not sure whether I could be able to handle it, the first thing I do is I try to respond to it. If it takes me more than 30 seconds, I mark it, answer it, and move on. You may be asking at this point, why do you mark questions? Why do you answer those questions you mark? You're right. This is very important that you ask, because when I reach to the last minute, if I don't have enough time, at least I'm taking a chance where, if in case I don't have time to review it, at least I have 25% chance that I could be right. I have found myself last minute, I didn't have time to review all the questions I marked, but I'm glad I answered them already, because I'm not leaving any question without being answered. Whatever answer that I thought is right, I check that, mark the question, move on. If I have time, I come back and review them. But if I don't have time, at least I answered that question. And I could be right. I have 25% chance that I could be right. And of course, one thing that I do once I am in the exam room, is that I want to be present. I just don't want to rush it. I don't want to assume I know the question. I read each question thoroughly and make sure that I understand the question before I answer each question. I hope this helps you. Next time when you go out to take an exam for a certification or a license, you could be able to use some of the approach that I have had. Good luck.